I'm sure a lot of us who have the overall providers of all our necessities in the household have dealt with this kind of a problem. We have dealt with basically customer service not being at its peak finest, or being at a peak that's tolerable or acceptable. We've also come to a point that a lot of the customer service people we talk to don't understand complete English, and I say that with all due respect, no offense. And because of that, sometimes communication gets lost. And because communication gets lost, we end up getting frustrated. And today, for me, that was probably the biggest example, period. You see, about a day ago or so, my cable box, and I will show you this right now, my cable box, the only one in the household so far, decided, oh, I'm going to go on the fritz. And it does this. Look at that. And it has constantly tried to, I guess, fix itself, if you will, because look what it says. It says that. You see that? That's what it says. And on occasions, once in a while, it will try to do what it calls a software update. And unfortunately, it cannot do a software update. And because of that, the box gets rendered useless. Now, I don't know if it's the cable itself. I don't think it is. I don't think it's the cable itself. Because if it's the coax cable, then how am I getting a signal telling me that they cannot communicate? That they cannot, basically do the update? How is that possible? How is that not, how is that possible if it's the coax cable? And I know, for one, it's not the HDMI cable because I wouldn't be getting a signal picture-wise if it was. So what that tells me, more than likely, it's the box itself. Now, what's interesting is this is the first time it's done it since I got my QLED 4K TV a couple of years ago. Because ever since then, it's never done that. It's never done that up to this point. It's like all of a sudden, my cable provider, which is Comcast, Xfinity, which I'm sure a lot of us do have, outside of AT&T, Verizon, Spectrum, Cablevision, you name it, all of a sudden, as soon as they decide to do an update, a software update, that's when it decides to say, yeah, adios muchacho. In other words, it can't do a software update. I don't know why. But my thought process is, again, I've had my 4K television for a couple of years now. And this is the first time that this has happened, so I'm wondering if it's trying to get compatible finally with the 4K, resolution. I don't know if that might be the reasoning or not. But if it is, then there's a good chance it's got to get replaced. Well, today, I'm off. I'm off on this Friday, the first of two, as far as I know. I'm off on this Friday. And I get on the phone. With Comcast Xfinity, and I get in contact with somebody that, and I say with all due respect, no offense, I get on the phone with somebody that doesn't speak, perfect English. You heard me, excuse me there. Doesn't speak perfect English. He speaks English, but not perfectly, nor does he understand it perfectly, although he understands certain specifics. And, he did his job. He did an okay job. Set up an appointment for me on Sunday to have a technician come over and evaluate the problem, see what's going on, maybe even replace the box. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. Also got a $20 credit and everything towards our bill. That's good and everything. Fine. Not a big deal. But then, about an hour ago or so, because I spent about 24 minutes, on the phone just now with another person from Comcast, about an hour ago, before I talked to that person, and before my mom called up to check up on things, basically, I get a second call from Comcast about an hour ago, and it's from somebody else that sounds like they have an attitude, also doesn't understand, doesn't speak fluent English very well, doesn't understand it very well, and then decides to tell me, oh, you don't need the appointment. Your service is good. We don't find no issues. And I'm like, I see an issue right in front of me. And they're like, oh, no, you don't need it. And they decide to cancel it on me. They basically force my hand into canceling it. Like they wouldn't take, no, I don't want to cancel it for an answer. They forced it. So what did I do? After I talked to my mom, she made a suggestion, called them back. I did, and everything. I talked to somebody finally, and this person, perfect English. Perfect English, obviously from here in the States. And again, I say this with all due respect, no offense, but perfect English. She understood everything. She was relatable in understanding the whole situation. The whole situation. She was understandable about it. She understood, yes, you shouldn't have to go through this crap. She even in her own sweet way was like, yeah, what happened to you is not right. It is BS. So you know what she did? Not only did she set up a new appointment for this Sunday, a little later, a few hours later than originally scheduled, not only did she set up a new appointment, but she made sure to jot down in the notes what needed to be done and told me that it will be an expert, not an average, but an expert technician that's going to come in. Because when she read the situation from her side of the building, or her side of the conversation, I should say, she noticed that, yeah, that box of yours is not working right. So she got an expert technician they're going to get an expert technician to come down on Sunday to address the issue. And not only that, but she's going to make sure that this expert technician also looks at another problem. You see, the other problem we have, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that when they decided to put cable into this household back when we first moved into it, because this house was totally new, when they decided to do that, they did something that kind of irritated my mom. Kind of, I guess you could say, upset her. And you know what that was? I'll show you. I will show you right here. It's this. That's right. They put this on our electric box. This right here. And she's like, well, how are we supposed to get into our electric box if something goes askew, right? We can't. Now, even though my older sister's husband, has experience working for Xfinity, even though he has experience, if you will, we don't know whether or not he'll be able to do it. He might, be able to take that off, but we don't know. But the thing is, I told her about that. She understood completely what I was talking about and decided, okay, not a problem. I'll put that down too in the notes. And she was more helpful than those other two. More helpful. And you know what I figured it out in my mind is the reason why at this time of the day, the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock hour and all that, Pacific, time, the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock p.m. hour Pacific. You know what I figured out could be the reasoning for that? You know what I figured out? Time zone difference. That's right, time zone difference. And you know why it's a time zone difference? Because when you try calling in the early morning, you're going to get, Comcast people from another freaking country. But when you call in the afternoon, you're okay. You're fine. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case, but you're okay. You're fine. But today was an example of Comcast AT&T, Verizon, Spectrum, Frontier, Cablevision, DirecTV, Dish Network, whoever your provider is, this to me was an example of, yeah, no offense, I'm sure they do a great job, and some of them do. I'll give them credit. Some of them do a great job, and some of them do understand the plight and situation of their customers. But today, in my opinion, this was just a prime example of, if you're going to hire people from other countries who don't understand the English language that well, and I say it with all due respect, no offense, I say that. But if you're going to hire them, then maybe you should also hire an interpreter. Someone that can sit by them, whether on the phone, that probably speaks decent English or the decent version of whatever language they're going to be communicating with, so that they can get a proper translation of the issue. And again, I say that with all due respect, no offense. Because like I said, I'm sure some of them do a good job, and they have, and experience-wise, we have dealt with people that are very understanding and do a good job. There's no doubt about that. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. And to me, this is just a prime example. If you're going to hire them, that's fine. Give them an opportunity to work. But hire people that can translate what you're saying to them, or they can translate to you what they're saying to you, so that communication won't be an issue. I mean, the fact that today, when I called up earlier, and the guy basically was like, oh, don't worry, I understand you. I understand. Oh, by the way, let me sell you stuff. Before he got to basically saying, okay, you're set up for this Sunday between 9 and 11, for a technician to come in. I was thinking, okay, good. Got $20 credit, fine, whatever. I'm thinking, okay, nothing to worry about after that. But then, like I said, about an hour later before I'm doing this video, or an hour earlier, I should say, before I'm doing this video, or a couple hours later after that phone call, and an hour before doing this video, I get a freaking phone call from another guy at Comcast support that says, oh no, you don't need it. You don't need it. Everything's fine. Goodbye. Basically forcing my hand. Even though I tell them I still want to keep my appointment. They said no. You don't need it. And it sounded like they were irritated. Like they didn't want to do that. Like they felt like, why are we even scheduling somebody an appointment like this? If we can read, it's fine. I don't think sometimes some of these people, whether they're from another country, from here in the U.S., whatever, I don't think some of these people really care about being, people that have to call and tell people, oh, your bill's due, or talk to people like, okay, let's see what the problem could be. Let me see what I can find out be the problem for you. I don't think they really want to be there. It's kind of like with some of the bus drivers. Sometimes the bus drivers, I think, that they've hired in recent months, don't really want to be there all day or be there for the hours they're in. And all they want to do is just get their money and go. And that's it. They just want to get paid and go. Well, if you don't want to be in these positions, that you're hired for, then why did you even apply for them? I'm just saying. But thankfully, like I said, third time's the charm. And the lady that I talked to, very understanding, very relatable in what she, in how she was talking and everything. Loved it, appreciated it, want more of that, and I know I'm not alone in that. So yeah, today for me was an example of the fact that if you're going to hire people to work customer support, make sure you hire people that understand the situation and communicate better, as well as if you need to give them somebody that translates what you're saying or what they're saying to you, then do that. One, you'll be providing more, I guess you could say, employment for people outside of what they normally do. And, honestly, it'll be worth the trouble, in my opinion. It will be. It'll be worth the trouble hiring extra people to be like, okay, well, I can see you speak a little bit of English, but not really. Do you have anybody we could bring on in to be a translator? And they might say, oh, this person. They'll be like, okay, we'll hire that person. Guess what? It would work. Provide more jobs and make things more smoother communication-wise for everyone around. But yeah, to me, it's an example of if communication ain't key, especially on a language barrier kind of situation, then we got issues. We got issues all across the board. But to me, today is an example of something that Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, Frontier, Cablevision, Spectrum, AT&T, I think I mentioned them, Dish Network, DirecTV. This is something they need to learn. You're gonna bring people like this on. That's fine. More power to you. Give them a job. Give them a chance to make money. But make sure they understand the situation. Make sure they either have a translator with them that will translate what they're saying to you, or you translate what you're saying to them. Make sure you have somebody there, or at least, in a way, make sure they get the gist of it. Because again, like I said, these people that may speak different languages and not very fluent English, or may not speak fluent Spanish or Chinese or Japanese or whatever, make sure that when you hire them, they at least get the idea of, oh, this is what I need to do. Like, yes, sell people your promos and everything, what's going on now. That's fine. But you mainly need to let them know, okay, this is what you need to be focused on. This is your job, is to help them here, and go from there. That's it. But honestly, I guess the old saying goes that third time's the charm. Third time calling up was the charm. And thank the Lord for that. Look, I'm not saying, in closing, let me make myself perfectly clear. In closing, I'm not saying that nobody deserves to work. They do. I'm not saying nobody deserves employment. They do. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to hire people that don't speak perfect English or don't speak perfect Spanish, and that's the primary language they're going to be communicating with, either at least give them the simple gist of, okay, here's your bullet points, here's what you got to do, and that's it. Or maybe if you know it's going to make you look good, and believe me, it would, get a translator for them. So that way they translate what you're saying to them, or they can translate what they're saying to you. That's just my opinion. But today's an example of every cable company out there needs to get their act together, and they need to get it together now. Because communication between, company and consumers, and mostly communication of the company and its employees, is key in making things run smoothly. And today, I don't know if it's because it was Friday or not, today was not a good example of that. It was not a good example. And again, I think the time zone is the difference maker. Once you enter a later portion of the day, that's probably your best chance. Again, I'm not saying that nobody, even earlier in the day, don't do a good job. The guy I talked to in the beginning, yes, he was mostly selling me stuff on things, but he was helpful. He did set up the original appointment. So I'm giving him that. I'll give him credit there. But then to have a Comcast support person call me up and say, oh, you don't need that, and have an attitude about it, and not even let me explain to him that, I need to keep my appointment, and was persistent in not having it happen, that's not good customer service, and it shows a lack of communication, period. But thankfully, third time's a charm, thank the Lord on it. I was able to get somebody who was very relatable, very understanding, and I just have to wait till Sunday to get the issue addressed, with my box. But let me know what you guys' thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. Did you ever deal with something like this? I'm sure you did. I'm sure you have. But let me know in the comment section, as well as the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check out the Teespring store by clicking on the upper left-hand corner to find merchandise you can't get anywhere else. And until next time, guys, you will also get an audio podcast version of this at BW Rostes Discussions, and all your favorite audio podcast platforms. But guys, give me your thoughts. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all later.